So the first sales interaction that you're going to have with your client is going to be the first call. So at this point, they reached out to you, maybe through your website, maybe they sent you an email, or maybe they just called you. And this is the actual first interaction where you're going to get some details about who they are and who they need. Now, the goal of the first call is to first determine if this is a good fit. And at this point, you already have a clear understanding about who are the clients that you want to work with. And the idea here is that if this is not a good fit, you're not going to waste a lot of time because you already have a very clear criteria about what sector of the industry and what size company do you work with. So you really know who you are best fitted to help. And if they are not that, then you can send them somewhere else, okay? If they are this, then you can move into the next phase, which is going to be the first meeting, okay? Now, so part of the first call is to, if it's a good call, sell the next step, right? Make them, of course, want the meeting. Now, at this point, you're not trying to sell a project because you're still not really sure what the project is. This is just the first call, okay? So the only thing that you're trying to sell at this point, if this is interesting, is I think that we should meet, and this can be obviously either in person or in some kind of a Zoom call or whatever, but move this from a first call, which is usually something like maybe 15 minutes, into a more proper meeting that's more like 1-2 hours of a meeting. Maybe they need to have somebody else in this meeting to explain what the project is all about. So those are the goals of the first call. Now here's how to run it, okay? The first thing is you're going to ask them to tell you about their company. So tell me about your company and what situation you're in. Okay, so this means what size is your company, what industry you're in, how long have you been in business, right? Why are you calling me right now? Now note, at this point, this is not about what they need, what the project is. Oh, we want a new website, we want to do a rebranding. That's okay. We'll talk about this in a second. But first, I want to understand who your company is. Why? Because if this is a company that's not a good fit for you, you want to redirect them at this point before investing a lot more time into something that's not going to, help you get to where you need to go. If this is not a good fit, you can just refer them, hopefully to a colleague or some other solution, and mention, look, I don't want to waste your time. Okay, by the way, never say I don't want to waste my time because nobody cares about your time. You need to respect their time. But you can say I don't want to waste your time. I'm probably not the best solution for you. Okay, now this can be something like, for example, you discover that they're in a completely different niche and you say, you know what, I'm actually my expertise is in real estate, but I know that I have a great designer colleague who is helping, dental professionals like you, and I'd love to refer you to them. That can be a great way for you to, you help out a colleague, which will then help out you. Or you discover that maybe they are under budgeted or a company that's just getting started and still doesn't have funding, and you can say, look, I don't want to waste your time. Usually companies in your size, sometimes they're using, like a free tool or a cheap solution like Wix to solve their problems because they can't afford solutions like I do. So if you think this is not a good fit, find a good solution. Still be helpful to them. It doesn't have to look like you're pushing them away, but like you're trying to help them. Okay, you're trying to help them solve their problem, just not with you. Okay, if this is a good fit, if you think they are a good client in your industry, in your size, then you can continue to, okay, so what do you think you need help with? Okay, and then, by the way, let me go back. So at this point, you want to hear about what they need help with. Now, you're not going to drill down into the whole project and why they're doing this right now and what exactly do they need there. Also, you need this kind of page on your website and what are your goals. We're not going to do this on this call. We just need to understand kind of the overlay need here. And if that sounds good, then you're going to transition to talking about yourself. And they probably want to hear about yourself as well. So at this point, I'm actually telling them about my process, like I've mentioned in the previous video. So I'll say something like, I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then we'll schedule an in-depth call or meeting to learn about your problem. Now, if I can help, I'll give you a proposal and we can move on if you like. If not, of course, I'll find somebody else that can help you. Does that sound good? So this is basically how you set up and explain to them exactly what the process is between this call and closing a deal or getting their problem solved. And then a lot of times, sometimes they'll ask, okay, so can you tell me a little bit about yourself, what your experience is like? And so at this time, you need to share a little bit about your experience and your process and what your expertise is. But of course, customize this to their needs. So now you know that they need a branding because that's what they said they need help with, and that their industry, so you can share some project that you did. Oh, we just finished a project with somebody in your industry but from a different location, and that was a pretty success, and usually it takes 3 months to finish the project. Usually projects like this start at $10,000. So it's important to state kind of the ballpark of the pricing at this point, because if this is something that's completely not what they were planning to, you probably want to get this out of the way before you set up and invest more time at this. Okay, so hopefully at this point the first call went well and they're like, yes, we want to schedule an in-depth call and learn about the problem, and that we can move into the second phase, which is the first meeting.